Coming up on Tech News Today, the Google tablet's coming in July for cheap. Sergey Brin takes the Google glasses out into real life. And the MPAA chief talks about reviving SOPA. Did he? Kneel before Dodd. All that and more coming up. This is Tech News.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, April 6, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to Squarespace.com and use offer code TNT4. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Darren Kitchen.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we kick around the tech news of the day, trying to make sense of it all. Audio listeners aren't going to notice anything weird about this show at all.
Good.
No,
Your
same
voice
crew on
kind of
Fridays.
sounds hairy right now.
Does it?
Yeah.
Well, yesterday, as you know, I was not here for Tech News Today, and I was on the last episode of Buzz Out Loud, and I didn't have a beard for that show.
And that was sort of a throwback to the old days before.
Yeah,
you
I'd
had a
never had a beard when I did Buzz Out Loud at CNET, so it was.
I actually saw
consistency.
the photo from the last episode, and it didn't occur to me at all.
I know.
Even until I got in studio today, because it was totally in context. You never had a beard on.
So what are you saying here?
Well,
with
I've
this?
never
What is
done
the
Tech News
statement
Today
you're
without a
making?
beard.
Right.
Oh.
So
Why jinx it?
Yeah.
It is baseball season after all.
that's right.
It's very Brian
you could
Wilson.
call this just kind of a Brian Wilson thing if
Absolutely.
that helps you wrap your head around it.
Fear the beard.
He's scary.
Fear
Seriously.
the tech news.
Physically frightening.
But just to give you a little time to kind of wrap your head around that, if you're watching the video show, let's let Sarah kick off our first story about the Google Android tablet coming in July.
Yes, Google Android tablet. We've heard quite a bit about it. Now, The Verge is reporting that Google's first stab at a co-branded Android device with Taiwan-based Asus has been pushed back to July from May. These are sources close to the project talking to The Verge. The reason is because they're tweaking the device. Namely, they're trying to tweak the price. Right now, it's at $249 of a price tag. They want to lower that price. Originally, it was rumored, but Android and Me had written last month, that's blog, on a post, that it would retail between probably $149 and $199, which prices it right in that sweet spot to let it compete directly with something like the Kindle Fire, which goes for $199 as well. So that seems to be part of the reason for the delay, maybe not the entire reason. Obviously, there are also rumors that Apple is now working on a 7-inch, 7-something-inch device.
Yeah.
Those rumors seem to not be going away.
Yeah, right.
So this whole kind of mini tablet market is hot, and it seems to be, what we know about the device so far is 7-inch screen. This is for the Google/Asus device. Tegra 3 quad-core processor, Wi-Fi only. It'll be running Ice Cream Sandwich. Some rumors that possibly it was getting delayed because they wanted to throw Jelly Bean onto it before it was released. That's a little far-fetched. Right now, it's optimized for Ice Cream Sandwich, although they would need until after June if they wanted to bump it up to the next version of Android. So, I don't know. This sounds like the partnership is similar to what Google did with the Nexus smartphones, the way that they partnered up with another company. Obviously, Google is a huge brand. So for somebody like Asus to get a tablet out there in front of a lot of people really quickly, it's great for them. And Google doesn't have to worry about making the hardware. What do you guys think?
Asus already makes a fantastic tablet, as well as, you have to consider that the Kindle was based on a reference design, basically, and that's how they were able to come out with it on market. I mean, yeah, there you go. Your playbook.
BlackBerry playbook right here.
Same hardware.
And that is, in fact, the same hardware design as the
Oh man,
Kindle
that's
Fire.
so the screenshot for today.
And but to that point though, Kindle or Amazon is actually working on revving the hardware of the Kindle, and it to be their own. And so this is going to be really interesting to see because they're both playing for the same market. They're both playing for that $150 to $200 7-inch tablet, market.
And if these rumors are true, the timing is really smart too, because these technologies are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and you can put in a quad-core processor, Tegra 3, and a 7-inch display that probably has a much higher resolution than we saw in the Kindle Fire.
Right.
You can have a lot more storage than you could probably get. And if Google's willing to, the rumors were that they were going to subsidize the cost of this on top of that. Because if you slap on Google Play in there, and you're renting movies, and you're buying apps, and you're getting all kinds of stuff from that Google store, it's a win for them in the long run, especially if they can control the branding on the tablet. Because right now, even though there are a lot of good tablets out there, it's hard for everybody to go, what's the Android tablet? And people don't think of the Kindle Fire as the Android tablet. They think it's the Amazon.
No, it's the Amazon brand that's so strong. I mean, Google has the potential to eat into Amazon's wild sales. Fourth quarter sales estimated as high as 5 million units for that Kindle Fire. And, of course, Amazon doesn't release these numbers specifically, but they're around there. There's obviously a proven market for something like this. The specs of this Google Asus tablet sound really solid. I think there are a lot of people who would rather have the Google version of Android than the Amazon.
And I think what Google's trying to do here is twofold. One is pave the way for other manufacturers like Samsung to kind of join in and try this once they've proven it with Asus. And I think Google is probably thinking, you know what, we need to establish Google branding on these devices better than we have with Android. The Google Nexus is a good brand, and that works for them. But Android is getting more and more fragmented, and more of these device makers are looking what Amazon is doing, especially with the Kindle Fire, and saying, well, maybe we don't need to play in the Google sandbox. So it's a good move for Google to assert themselves as, a premium to put on your device. Like, great, yeah, you can go take Android and do what Amazon did. You got a big as brand as Amazon, or would you like Google's weight of brand behind that? And I think that's a positive, especially for smaller device makers.
The chat room is yelling, Motorola, Motorola. Why isn't Google doing this with their own device? And then it seems like it's actually probably a strategic move to make sure that their partners aren't put off by the concept of Google buying Motorola in the long run. Because if you co-brand an Asus product or a Samsung product, it means Google's behind you. And if you're going to stick to just Motorola, it's going to look kind of troublesome and irksome to a lot of these companies to go, yeah, we'll stick with Android. If you're just playing favorites, they wouldn't do this. So it's probably a smart strategic move by Google to go with something like Asus.
All right, Microsoft is trying to beef up its app store, because that's the other part of this is the ecosystem you build, but they're spending some money to do it. Yeah,
the New York Times put out an article today, and they were talking about Microsoft's practice of paying developers to make apps for Windows Phone operating system. And if you're wondering what kind of apps were getting paid, Foursquare was apparently subsidized by Microsoft. It turns out that Foursquare doesn't have a Windows Phone division, and Microsoft is willing to pay for a third party to develop that for them. And these app developments can cost anywhere between $60,000 to $600,000, depending on complexity.
That's a drop in the bucket for Microsoft,
well, yeah.
Really. I mean, if you think about it.
It's all about getting apps, right? So that's what they also help pay for the Facebook app. The New York Times app was assisted. There was no mention of if any money was paid or not.
It's funny that the article written by a New York Times reporter didn't know what the New York Times were paid.
And Microsoft didn't deny anything like this. They do give incentives. They give out free phones. They give out prime spots in the app market. Windows Phone ads, you'll see certain applications. And the senior marketing manager of Windows Phone, Casey McGee, he said this: "We are by no means satisfied with our catalog." And Microsoft, depending on reports you see, either has 70 to 80,000 applications in their app market. Apple's got 600,000. Android's got 400,000. Although they're doing better than BlackBerry, which has 70,000 or near there.
Yeah. Well, Microsoft gets it. I mean, they realize what they need. The key to success is developers.
So buy them.
And so they're paying them off. And
buy some developers, yeah.
And what I would be really interested in seeing, though, is, okay, sure, so Microsoft goes to, the Squares of the world and gives them, a bucket of cash so that they can make the app for it. And that's great. However, what does that mean for that app down the road, like a year from now, when it improves, as they all do, on the iOS and on Android? And then what? Is there a bastardized version just kicking around over on the Microsoft side?
No,
well, they're investing in momentum, right? I mean, they've got under 100,000 apps right now. Mm-hmm. We're about to see a lot of Windows phones. If they can sell like hotcakes, and you've got the big apps, the ones that you would expect to have on any sort of mobile OS, the way that iOS and Android aren't the same, but you've got kind of the same caliber of things. It's like once they get past some sort of, I don't know what that peak is,
you think there's a breaking
then the
point?
Developers will come because they realize that people want these apps. Well, right now, they're still in prove mode.
The same could have been said with Android. And so, were there any reports of Google doing this when they were?
But
launching
Android was
iOS?
earlier,
And it took a lot
like you
longer
weren't
to
the
build
third
up.
horse.
It took. Remember people complaining in the early days about the lack of apps in the Android App Store. So Microsoft's trying to avoid that.
Well, they had like 100,000 flashlight apps, but
Google did have a bunch of contests when they launched Android for developers. If they had their best products, they would be featured in the marketplace. They got a cash reward, a bunch of them, including I can't remember, Shop Savvy was one of them. I mean, there was a whole bunch of apps that they did incentivize.
Well, this is what Microsoft does, though. If they don't have market share, they try to buy it. Same thing with Bing. Remember, like corporations can sign up and actually get money for their employees to Bing search.
Yeah. It's, I think Microsoft is probably doing a smart thing here. If what you're saying, Sarah, happens and they get that momentum that they're looking for. The Nokia Lumia 900 is one place that they're placing their bets. If they sell a big number of those, then you've got a lot of people using the apps. You got a lot of people downloading apps, and then the developers start to say, "Hey, that's something that is worth pursuing."
Exactly. A company like Foursquare isn't saying we have a problem with Microsoft or we don't like Windows Phone or that's not a fun idea. It's just we don't have enough people who are asking us for this app. We have way more people on iOS saying, please fix this bug, etc.
On top of that, there are Windows Phone development houses, and these are the people making these ports anyway, so they're making money doing this. So even if these companies don't bother to do in-house development, if there is enough momentum for these applications on Windows Phone, it looks like maybe Facebook or maybe even somebody like Foursquare would keep continuing to pay these third parties to make the applications up to date compared to their other iOS or Android alternatives.
Now, we don't mean to make it the third day in a row to talk about Project Glass, but Robert Scoble at a charity event called Dining in the Dark, which is run by the Foundation for Fighting Blindness, ran into Sergey Brin wearing the glasses out in public. If he got him to take a picture. Brin said it was a prototype device. Scoble described the glasses as being self-contained, so no wires hanging down.
He was wearing a backpack, but apparently didn't have anything to do with the glasses.
Well, I don't know. That's not to say that it couldn't be Bluetooth.
When asked about when Project Glass would be available, Brin told The Verge, give us time. So he's basically trying them out. He's trying them out in public, and he was like, "Yeah, Scoble can take a picture. That's fine."
I also thought it was kind of interesting that this particular charity dinner, raising money for the blind, the dinner happened in the dark. Now, the picture that video viewers of the show saw obviously is not them in the dark.
No,
it's some sort of like mixer beforehand.
The thing happens, yeah.
But it's interesting that he was probably testing out something in very low light.
There was actually another photo of it, but it was pretty much just pound FF.
Oh, Darren.
Right, and there's a story from Boy Genius Report today saying that Topeka Capital Markets analyst Brian White thinks rival companies already have similar products to Project Glass in development, and he's looking at supply chains and talking to sources, et cetera, et cetera. But he says, yeah, this is going to be a booming market. It's not just going to be Google.
Well, yeah, I mean, this has been going on forever. I mean, I think it's great, this Glass project. It's basically Google saying, first, which is kind of cute, but you've already been able to do this. I can do this right now. Here's my phone, right? I take this, and then I just take a MHL dongle and plug that into the micro USB.
Okay.
And then I just plug a HDMI cable into that, and then I plug that into a VGA dongle to convert it over to VGA to HDMI, and then I plug in my VGA dongle, and then I have to sideload some power using like a USB battery pack into that, and so power that up, and then I take this dongle, and boom, next thing you know, I got the
Yeah, it's almost the exact same experience.
Almost.
And then I just plug this into there, and I got
Why
my
would you
Android
ever need
experience.
these Google
And I
goggles?
look
Google
awesome
glasses,
with this on.
Yeah. You could be Sergey Brin.
You know what? I'm doing the rest of the show like this.
Look, if Tom can do the rest of the show with this, then you can do the rest of the show with this.
I don't know what you're trying
Can
to
you
say.
actually see, though, Darren?
Oh, yeah. Perfectly.
Great. You
All
look
right.
great.
Thanks.
Looking good.
Where?
You hardly know you're wearing anything.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Squarespace.com, and thank them for having a sense of humor for allowing a man with a false beard to deliver their commercial. Squarespace.com, as you know, fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog, and what I use every week, many times a week, for Sword and Laser and Forecast. In fact, earlier today, I was using my Squarespace blog because I found out the release date for the new Peter F. Hamilton books coming out December 26th. So easy to pop into Squarespace, hit our calendar, make the update, know exactly I've got it formatted right. I didn't have to do any HTML coding. Throw it in there. You will not believe how easy it is to make a very, very good and reliable website. It's not going to just crash at every whim. You get 2 people visiting at the same time. You also get a special support team. They're doing live webinars. You really got to check this out, and you don't have to spend a dime to do it. You don't even have to believe me. Just go try it out yourself. Squarespace.com. You don't need a credit card. Start building a website. You'll see how easy it is. You'll see how easy it is to create permission access if you want to have a bunch of people working on it. You can put Google Maps in there. You can get tracking, find out who's visiting your website. It's all absolutely free. So sign up for that free account. Give it a shot. If you do decide to keep the product, use this offer code TNT4 and get 10% off your first purchase on new accounts. So that's 10% on whatever you buy. Buy a year, you get 10% off a whole year. That's squarespace.com. Use that offer code TNT4. And we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Twitter has filed several lawsuits in San Francisco federal court against people who post spam or provide tools to create similar messages, targeting the 5 most used tools that make Twitter spam possible. That's TweetAttack, TweetBuddy, TweetAdder, James Lucero, best known for his How to Get Justin Bieber to Follow You page, and Garland Harris of Troption.com. Now, Twitter says it's hoping that the lawsuits will prevent other spammers from accessing those tools, as well as serving as a deterrent to other spammers. That sounds very similar to the logic of the MPAA and the RIA.
It's a very wishful thinking type of logic, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I understand if you shut down the most popular tools that might dent the spam for a while, but is it going to get rid of the spammers?
Well, it's kind of actually the same thing as censorship, and like Apple in the way that on the iTunes store, they have to draw the line. And so they're just drawing the line. It's their service. It's their end user license agreement. They can create that however they want. And but at the end of the day, I mean, you could argue that this is, in a way, censorship. I mean, nobody likes the spam, but they're saying, hey, get off my lawn because we don't like what you're saying.
But like you were just saying, Darren, it's their service. They can do what they want. I think to compare them to the MPAA or RIAA is a real huge disservice to Twitter. I mean, they just basically want the service to be clean. And if you're going to use this thing...
Why is it a disservice?
Comparing them to these two very, very...
MPAA just wants to stop copyright infringement.
Okay, hang on now. Now, a lot of laws have deterrent abilities, okay? That whether the RIAA and MPAA seem to do that in a consumer-friendly way is a completely different thing. Twitter is actually concerned about the people who want to use it. And if I want to, I don't know, maybe I want to tweet out about something on an iPad. I don't want to get 6,000 fake things back saying, you win the free iPad 4. It's like, oh, there's no iPad 4. But it'll be everywhere. Like that's a different kind of thing. This is actually more friendly.
It's not suing their customers.
Right. This is helping their customers. So theoretically, now, I mean, again, it's Twitter service. Twitter users get to benefit from it. I think to compare them is a little bit rough.
I would compare it more to just email.
Yeah.
I want my spam filter to work.
You're right. You're right. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm going to be the last person to stand up for spammers.
Yeah, so, die spammers die. Although I really do like reporting spam on Twitter. I don't like to do it anywhere else.
It's
Why?
easy.
It is easy, and it seems pretty effective.
Maybe
in Gmail, just hit exclamation point. Does the same thing.
Make an app and gamify.
I do that.
You can gamify it.
Something about email spam, it causes me to feel rage inside. With Twitter spam, I'm like, gotcha.
They say with this suit, we're going straight.
You're right. I do feel like that because
it's kind of like gamification. Yeah.
It's not like, this is just a zombie bot that harvested somebody's port 25 or whatever.
Yeah.
They wrote on their blog, with this suit, we're going straight to the source. By shutting down tool providers, we will prevent other spammers from having these services at their disposal. Further, we hope the suit acts as a deterrent to other spammers, demonstrating the strength of our commitment to keep them off Twitter. So I don't know how effective that's going to be, but I think that it's more about sending a message, which is kind of what you were saying, Iyaz. All right, we do have a real security hole for Facebook and Dropbox iOS apps. Tell us about that, Darren.
Uh-oh, we'll get this. Security researcher Gareth Wright.
Can you see your notes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got my display on here. It's VGA, baby.
Right.
So Gareth Wright, he revealed today that there is basically a vulnerability in the way that Facebook and Dropbox store their credentials on both iOS and Android. And this exploit, this vulnerability, if it's exploited by like a hacker, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say a hacker, but some mischievous individual, basically what they can do is copy this plain text file off of, say, I could copy the file off of Sarah's device, put it on my device, and then when I load up the Facebook app, I'm logged in as Sarah. So it's kind of like the plain text file in the case of Facebook, for example, is it's just a file that contains the OAuth key and the secret. And so it's kind of, you could consider it a cookie. Facebook authenticates the device for up to 60 days. And so Facebook went ahead and released a statement. They were like, no, don't worry about this, guys. This is only going to affect people who have jailbroken or rooted their phones, those evil people that want freedom with their device. And that's actually my interpretation. But that's
not true.
That's
right?
not true. No. In fact, any application installed on that phone, a malicious application can be installed on Sarah's phone that would harvest her, well, let's call it a cookie, and send it to me, and then I could log in as her on Facebook.
Well, I could use
Dropbox.
iPhone Explorer and go copy that plist file. I never even have to open it.
Exactly.
I just write it over, and then all of a sudden I can open it on my device. But they have to have physical access to the device to be able to.
Well, no, an app could do it or physical access, and that's the kind of thing that I like.
Okay, so you could do it with an app.
Well, have you ever seen those chargers in airports? A lot of times they're sponsored by big companies like Samsung and whatnot, where it's like, hey, come by and plug in your phone, top up before you get on the plane, right? Well,
that's physical access.
That's physical access, and yet it's the kind of convenience of society where you don't really think anything of it. It's totally innocuous, like I'm just trying to charge my phone. Well, if your phone doesn't have a passcode on it, or if it does have a passcode, yet you've unlocked it after you've plugged it in, then somebody directly connected to that device physically could download that key and then log into his Facebook and post kittens on your wall, and you wouldn't want that. Or maybe you would.
Actually,
yeah.
It's not
You
such
think
a
of
bad
worse
thing.
things.
It's usually what the hackers do, though.
Right.
So,
what do you
have
do?
a passcode active. That seems like one step.
Yeah, what's the defense?
Dropbox, actually, their statement was like, oh, yeah, actually our iOS thing is vulnerable, and we're working on it. And no, that doesn't work on Android. And so the security researcher, Gareth Wright, brought this to Facebook's attention. They were like, oh, yeah, we know about this. Don't worry about it, right? We're working on this. And so, it's up to the app developers to actually use security best practices rather than, storing credentials in plain text.
But for now, basically make sure you have no one else taking your phone that you don't trust.
Don't install any shady apps.
Don't install shady apps.
Don't plug into any shady devices.
Apps on an iOS, though, right?
Yeah.
People don't think like, oh no, it's actually curated. There's no shady apps.
I think what it is I wouldn't say lazy programming, but like rush to market programming, where, say, for example, what's that app where you draw stuff and your friend sees what it is? Draw something, right? So Draw Something uses this plain text file to integrate with Facebook, and so it makes the experience better. And yet, on the back end, though, you've got some insecurity there, and that means that those applications could potentially harvest your friends or your contact lists on your.
Shouldn't they just encrypt the text?
You would think.
Yeah. All right.
That's probably what they'll do.
I think. Finally, Christopher Dodd, the former Connecticut senator, is also now the leader of the Motion Picture Association of America. He was talking to Hollywood Reporter about the technology industry, and they asked him about SOPA. There's like, what's the status of SOPA? And he had a very long answer, but near the end of his answer, kind of after a follow-up question, he said that Hollywood and the technology industry need to come to an understanding about new copyright legislation, and he said conversations are going on now. So Hollywood Reporter took that to mean, they're still talking about reviving SOPA. They made that their headline. Public Knowledge President Gigi Sohn criticized Dodd's comments, saying, it is simply amazing that a mere 2 months after 14 million people voiced opposition to SOPA and PIPA, that the head of the MPAA said the dreadfully flawed legislation could be reworked in the backrooms of Washington. It's a very thin interpretation to figure out that that's exactly what he meant if you look at the Hollywood Reporter article, because it's so far away from them just suggesting SOPA that he could very well have meant that conversations are going on about this problem of copyright violation, and they're working with lawmakers to come up with a new solution. But that isn't what he said. And because he has said other things recently about SOPA needing to be revived and about how horrible it was that it got killed,
remember,
I think a lot of people jumped to the conclusion.
When it got killed, this is the same guy that said, this is horrible. The only reason that this is being killed is because the opposition had time to mobilize. Because heaven forbid the opposition actually know what you're up to.
Anyway, the MPAA has come out with a statement saying Senator Dodd did not say SOPA is coming back to life. I like that they actually used those words, coming back to life, as if it were a zombie. He said that the tech and entertainment industries need to come together to work on a new solution, and those conversations are beginning. SOPA is gone. The path forward now is a serious conversation between all involved industries about new resolutions, and that was Senator Dodd's point. So whatever Senator Dodd has been saying in interviews regretting the passing of SOPA, I mean, it's pretty much deader than dead. In fact, it's slang on Capitol Hill, apparently, to talk about a bill being SOPA'd if you're not careful. Like, it has become legend. So I feel pretty secure that SOPA itself is gone. They're not going to revive that. That doesn't mean they're not going to try to come up with some new copyright legislation, but it remains to be seen what that would end up being.
It'd be naive to think that they would, oh, by the way, SOPA got defeated and so did PIPA. We're going to stop trying. Of course they're going to keep trying. And the other thing is they're probably going to have a much catchier name, right? It's going to be like, freedom from pirates or something.
And kittens.
Freedom of Creation Act.
Or something like that. So people are like, oh, yeah, it's safe, like the Patriot Act, right? It's totally okay. But, I mean, that's what's going to happen. It's a constant battle, so just stay vigilant, people.
The Freedom of Creation Union. Fuck.
You.
News Fuse.
I believe that might be what they would call it. It's time for the News Fuse. Samsung reported record-breaking quarterly financials with an operating profit of $5.8 trillion. That's about 5.13 billion US. This is about double what it earned last year. Analysts believe Samsung's success is due to the surprising sales of the Galaxy Note and the fact Samsung's handsets have reached a 20% operating margin. Detailed financials will be reported on the 27th.
Speaking of happy news, HEC doesn't have any. The company announced its first quarter financials with profits of approximately $151 million US, which is down 70% compared to quarter one of 2011. HEC's quarterly sales also took a hit. While the company made $2.3 billion, that was 35% less than last year.
Apple issued a second patch to fight off the flashback Trojan yesterday. Security firm Intego compared the patch to a previous patch issued by Apple on Tuesday and found nothing substantially different. The firm speculated that there might be some kind of minor glitch in the first, warranting the second.
Sprint LTE network is up and running.
Yay!
In one town.
Oh.
If you're in Kankakee, Illinois, then you'll be able to achieve blazing LTE speeds once Sprint launches its LTE phones.
Right.
Sprint's LTE network will expand to include 6 large markets in June, including Atlanta, Baltimore, and Dallas.
Let's check the good old social network standings to the board. In first place, Facebook. Second place, Twitter, behind by 2.5 games. But coming in at number 3 is Pinterest. They're still in it, folks, with a lot left to play. Experian checked network traffic of social networks for March 2012 and found that Pinterest received over 100 million total visits. Comscore also weighed in, reporting that the site received 17.8 million uniques.
That's not fair to Hamster Stir.
They're just they're not in it this year, man. Maybe next year.
All right.
They'll be back, Darren.
I'm rooting for them.
Rockstar Games announced Max Payne is about to take over your mobile device. Max Payne Mobile hits the iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch on Thursday, April 12th, while the Android version following 2 weeks later on April 26th. For an unknown price, at least at this time, you'll get the classic Max Payne PC experience with customizable controls and social club connectivity. The mobile game is likely meant to stoke interest in Max Payne 3, which is coming to consoles May 15th and PCs May 29th.
Amazon continues to develop new video content. Amazon Studios just announced its development slate, a set of the, quote, most promising ideas to come out of the pitches it's received. A few on the slate have producers attached, but most are still in the early scriptwriting stage. For example, Amazon is offering $33,000 each to rewrite fairy tale, comedy, 12 Princesses, and teen drama, I Think My Facebook Friend Is Dead.
According to the Pew Internet and American Life Project, the Amazon Kindle is the top e-reader amongst Americans. 62% of e-reader owners use the Kindle, while 22% use the Nook, and 9% have no clue what they got. Those Kindle fans may also be very excited about the next generation Kindle. TechCrunch reports that the next Kindle will have a front-lit screen, and they've seen it. The device was camouflaged in a cardboard enclosure, but the screen lit up evenly.
Tuareg independence in northern Mali, Trumped elections in South Ossetia, Turkish-Chinese trade talks. Oh, no. The most important thing you should concern yourself with is improving the map to your local mall or airport. Download the official floor plan marker app, walk around the entire surface of your local mall, and you'll get position data, GPS, public Wi-Fi signals, and cell towers added to Google's database. You may not have reduced arsenic levels in India's wells, but someone's grandma may not break their hip because they're lost trying to find Woolworths, and that's worth it.
Yes, it sure is.
Time for the random.
Randomizer.
ProjectYellowsphere.com has gained some attention today. It is a machinima site, I believe, and it purports to have leaked footage of Pac-Man, the ultimate live-action fan film experience. You guys were pretty excited about this.
I think this is epic.
It's something we just need to show the people.
I just absolutely love it.
The people need to know.
They need to see this. I want to thank David Wegley for sending us an email about this, because I was not aware of the Pac-Man fan film, because it is just epic looking.
They claim this to be the greatest 80s movie never made. We already are. And I kind of wish it was now.
Didn't they make a Pac-Man movie? Or is that my imagination?
It might be like the Mario movie where we kind of like pretend it didn't happen.
I'm just thinking of the cartoon. I always do that.
Yeah. I was actually kind of disappointed to see that he's got arms and legs. I mean, in my mind, Pac-Man is always
But he's
8-bit.
flying through,
It's
so
very
it's almost like...
Tron-inspired Pac-Man, isn't it?
In the
I mean,
artwork,
it
he
does
would
have
have
that
arms and
neon
legs.
to it.
In the
That's
games,
true.
he never did, but in the artwork, he would. So they're going with the artwork angle on this one, apparently.
Now, granted, it's certainly not
a
the
little
first
Matrix-y.
fan film about Pac-Man ever made, but it's pretty awesome.
It's just, it's like 6.5 minutes of amazing. Well, about 3.5 minutes of amazing.
You know,
It's-
here's
And
the thing.
completely
Hollywood-
believable.
Hollywood is all over
true story.
these properties for like comic books and stuff, and really, there's this whole untapped market of video game movies. That, I mean, sure, we've seen like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and stuff in the past, but really, what we need to do is go back to the classics and have a true epic tale of Pong.
I was going to say
and
that.
Defender.
Yeah.
What if you
you're
go
absolutely
further
right.
back, like Battleship? Wait, no,
Space War, the
They're actually
movie.
making
Yeah.
Battleship.
I think it's next month.
Yeah.
You got your wish.
You know, oddly enough, after we saw this, Becky Worley posted up on YouTube an old video of her on CNN giving a report about a live-action Pac-Man demonstration happening in Manhattan where people dressed up like ghosts in Pac-Man and ran around. And what she pointed out is that the guy in the Pac-Man T-shirt is Dennis Crowley of Foursquare. And she'd never put it
Founder
together.
and CEO.
Yeah.
That would be
my
Dennis
gosh.
Crowley right
Where
there.
are they now?
Mr.
Interesting.
Crowley.
Well, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't.
So maybe
there was
he's
no
trying-
Foursquare.
He's trying to figure out where the ghosts are. He's like, well, if they just checked in.
Have you checked in with the?
Someday
I will
I will
make it
know where they are. All right, let's move on to the calendar.
Whew. The HTC Titan 2 is coming to AT&T this Sunday, April 8th, for $200 on contract. Also on contract, the Nokia Lumia 900 U.S. release is this Sunday, April 8th, for $100. AT&T is going to start unlocking off-contract iPhones this Sunday, April 8th. Lenovo's K71 Smart TV is launching in China on April 10th. Good news for HBO Go users who realize, hey, it doesn't work that well with Comcast. Comcast is launching HBO Go on the Xbox early next week. This is from the source itself. Comcast's official blog says so.
What do they know?
They know a lot.
Did they quote
actually.
sources close to us? Because it's us?
They just quoted themselves
Yeah.
over and over. It was very Inception-like. The Big Bang Theory Season 1 and Season 2 are hitting Blu-ray July 10th. And finally, Darren, something's going on May 3rd in the Hack 5 world. What is it?
Hack5.org/1111 is where you can RSVP to come to our all-ages meetup and extravaganza to celebrate the last binary episode of Hack 5 for like hundreds of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years.
I can't wait till the next one.
We're going to go base 8 after this.
Nice. Let's check what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Kyle called in. Now, he seems to think Sarah may have said something that I'm pretty sure she didn't say, but he's got a good, interesting point anyway, so take a listen.
Hey, TNT show. This is Kyle from Sacramento. I'm an energy auditor, and you were talking about O power for Facebook a couple of days ago, and Sarah asked, well, this just tells me how much energy I'm using, and I'm not really sure how to reduce it. Well, for renters like Sarah, the Nest is great because it's one of the few things you can put in your home to save money that you can just simply unscrew from the wall and take with you when you move apartments. Love the show. Have a good one.
Yeah, I don't know that I said there's not much I can do as a renter. I know that something like the Nest seems like a big hassle to install if I'm not going to be there that long, but it is nice to know that it is fairly mobile, especially if mounting it has gotten even easier with the next gen.
I believe I may have said I'm renting my place and I don't want to put in a new thermostat, but what he's saying is it's really not that hard.
Yeah,
actually,
it's good to know.
The author of the piece that we cited said they didn't test it out because they're in an apartment. And maybe that's what happened. But yeah, it's definitely something you can take with you.
Oh, Ken from Chicago in the chat room reminded us PAX East happening in Boston this weekend as well.
Nice.
Yes, it was in our calendar.
Yesterday.
Oh, did we?
Yesterday.
We said it yesterday. Oh,
That's
well,
okay.
Ken, I wasn't here yesterday.
Tell him
It's still going on.
You fooled the beard.
It started. It's going through Sunday.
Ed in Virginia wrote in, said, in TNT 473, you discussed the Mass Effect 3 expanded ending and how redoing an ending could probably not be done for films. I do not know if it is still done, but there was a time when Hollywood studios would pre-screen a film using test audiences and make changes based on the feedback, essentially doing a beta test. Given the cost of making a film, this is a sensible and practical way of maximizing ROI. All of that being said, I know of one instance back in the early to mid-1960s where a studio deliberately shot 2 separate endings for a movie and released both versions simultaneously. There was a notice at the beginning of the movie telling the audience not to reveal the ending. This was because when you went to the theater to see the movie, you had absolutely no idea which ending you were going to see. Actually, Paranormal Activity
They did the same thing with Clue.
And
which
Clue.
was epic.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
But
true.
Singing Telegram? Come on, people.
But that's not really what we're talking about. I mean, we're talking about, let's say that this whole Mass Effect leap went to Hollywood. You watch a movie, you walk out of the theater, you're mad. I hated that ending. I demand you change the ending and re-release this movie. That would be epic.
And then give me a ticket for free to watch it again.
Exactly.
Later on, in the summer when you re-release it.
That's how mad I am.
Or even you download a movie, you buy it from Amazon or iTunes. You don't like the ending.
5 more
and
minutes.
they're like, we'll patch it.
Well, isn't that the mentality of the game industry, though? It's
exactly.
like, oh, wait, there's something you didn't like? Don't worry. We're going to take care of that.
I didn't like the way Lost ended, JJ. Can you patch that last episode of
and
season
don't give
6?
me just 2.
By the way, that's not true. I actually like the way Lost ended. But a lot of people.
You know, you really can't take it as the ending because, you know, the same way you couldn't take the ending of the series of, like, Mass Effect 1 or 2.
Are we going to do that
Where's
with
Mass
books
Effect
now,
4?
too?
Yeah.
You're like, nah, I don't like, nope, send it back.
Well, you know,
Maybe
the
another
beauty of
ending.
ebooks is patches.
Right.
Oh, actually, no, I actually can imagine, especially in textbook world, the, like,
that makes a lot of
third
sense.
edition
I
of
think
something.
the closest thing we've seen to any of this stuff is Star Wars movies, but that's George Lucas doing stuff that nobody asked for.
Yeah, no one said,
he
please
asked for it,
change the scene with Han and
He's
Greedo.
pretending that we did, but we
didn't
didn't.
shoot first. Han only shot. That's what I'm
He
saying.
was just clarifying when he changed that.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
All
no
right.
more patches.
Moving on to an email from Daniel Cervantes. Hi, Sarah. Hello, Daniel. Friendster is owned. I was talking about Friendster yesterday and I couldn't remember what had happened to them. Is owned by a Malaysian-based company called MOL. MOL sells online game credit at outlets such as 7-Eleven, where a lot of Southeast Asian kids have no access to credit cards. They sold some of the social network patents owned by Friendster to Facebook in exchange for some Facebook shares and exclusive right to sell Facebook credit in Southeast Asia for a couple of years. Friendster was recently rebuilt by the Pivotal Labs folks and now try to differentiate itself from Facebook by trying to be the place that you can create multiple identities of yourself, especially for online games, as compared to a real identity, what Facebook and Google make you do. It's interesting. I didn't know.
Yeah,
I did not know.
I
what the
I knew
current
Friendster was
status of
still
Friendster
around,
was.
but I didn't realize they were doing the online gaming thing. That's pretty smart.
Yeah,
You know, Hamster Stir is still around, but just a lot of the hamster
cannot
songs.
shut
That is
up
the
about
most hamster stir references in the past, 5 years it's ever happened.
Well, I'm just
on one
saying, there's
show.
some really cute hamsters on there, but unfortunately, they've all graduated to hamster heaven.
Yeah.
They don't really have a long.
It's not an active community, apparently.
No, they have a low time to live.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode. This episode didn't have a long time to live, and now it's done.
Oh, our TTL expired.
Yep. Kill the packet. TechNewsToday.reddit.com carries on, though. That's our subreddit. If you want to help us figure out what stories we want to have on the show, go there, submit them, or even just vote them up or down. We take a look at that every day to figure out exactly what stuff you want to hear about. You can put my beard on there and vote it up or down if you want. That's fine. You can also send us your best moments, anything you think from this entire week or any week. You're like, that should go in the year-end show. I want to see that. That should be part of the best of. Send it to TNT@twit.tv. Use the subject line, best of. Darren Kitchen, always great having you here on Fridays. We missed you last week.
Yeah, hack5.org is where you can find out how to do two-factor authentication and backtrack Linux, or any Linux, really. And it's a fun little project we put together called, drink all the booze, hack all the things, kill all the humans. It's good stuff.
HAK5.org. That's it for Tech News Today. You can find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, and you can give us a call. Our phone number is 260-TNT Show. Who do we have on Monday? Who knows?
Whoa.
You're going to have to tune in and find out. Rest in peace, BOL.
Hey, Tom, do you think you could go, Do that for me. Do that for me.
Why?
Please. I want to see if there's a resemblance between you and the guy from 300.
Yeah, that's exactly where I thought it was going. Nice.
I can't actually open my mouth that wide.
Huh?
Watch.
Huh? Wait a minute.
Wait a second.
It's a false beard.
No, it's... What? What are you talking about?